All right, 11 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. It's the Now Morning Show here on CTT. Yesterday, we had the rollout of the safe zones for restaurants, bars, cinemas, members clubs, gyms, and did I say bars? And bars, yes. And we're just going to be checking in with a business owner who owns several restaurants to just find out how that went. Good morning to you, Peter George.
Morning, Natalie. Morning, everybody. How are you?
Fantastically fantastic. But how was the rollout yesterday?
It was gentle. So I guess for the first day that was not entirely unwelcome because we had an opportunity to really work through some of the conditions that we weren't entirely clear on, like presentation of vaccination cards, how those things are going to work, and so on and so forth. So. From that perspective, the gentleness and the softness was welcomed, but from what I understand, I'm not in the country right now. But what I understand from my guys, everything went smoothly. So from that perspective, it was good. From the business perspective, there was no real meaningful increase from the previous week. But like I said, that hopefully.
Will change. Yeah. But I mean, for the patrons, it seems as if the patrons were excited just to get the opportunity to just sit in and dine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it's been 4 months? I think was it late July, so August, September, October, right? Well, okay, 3 months. The question really is how long this is going to last. Right? We're hoping that this is not, another, couple of weeks and so on. I think the realization now is after 18 months that we now have to, really press ahead. There's still some concerns with, and I understand yesterday even customers were asking the question to the managers. As people would, why did it take so long, and what's the difference between restaurants and other businesses that don't have the conditions? There was tremendous disquiet yesterday with the children thing. Actually, a couple, the first visitors we had were a couple who had just gone to Trinidad, fully vaccinated, everything else. And they had 2 young children, 5 and 4. They weren't aware, and we told them. We said, "Sorry, we can't allow you. For X, Y, B, and Z. This is 25,000 a fine and 5,000 for each of your children." And we had to explain. And a couple more patrons throughout the day, which to me it's quite a policy I don't understand. How under 12s can't come to the restaurants and cinemas, for example. It almost makes the whole exercise futile. But but apart from that, yes, people were indeed happy to get back out.
You know what, Peter? Maybe this is something that the business community should approach the Ministry of Health on, because I don't know that if you cannot be vaccinated or you're not approved for vaccination, that you should be denied the right to enter that space, because the reality is that there aren't any circumstances under which you can be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the big question, and that's the incongruence of the whole thing. Even with regards to alcohol, I mean, you've created a safe zone, right? Only vaccinated guests, only vaccinated employees, and so on. You're following some of the cities around the world that have done this, and then you have no alcohol either. It doesn't exactly make sense, but certainly the children part. So, like I said, I mean, I think it's like nomads wandering through a desert. We've gotten a mirage, and we're happy to stick our head in and drink.
Well, I know you were always advocating for the reopening of the economy. So aren't you happy for this, that here is an opportunity or a way for that economy to reopen, where businesses, as you said, the opening might have been soft, but I think with time, when people get more comfortable and see how it works, people might come and sit and dine in.
Well, sure. I mean, the question is, it's a baby step, right? And you need to move in the right direction. I have been fairly vocal. My position has been clear for the last 18 months, 19 months, and I think we're still going to see the ultimate numbers show that we have waited too long to make this decision. When you consider now, I mean, I think yesterday was 117, and it's roughly 200 cases a day. I don't know what the last tally is. You all may have it with regards to the amount of listed cases. It's less. I think it's 50 or 60,000 people, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If someone could clarify that, you're looking at about half, 5% of the population has been officially has been have gotten contracted the virus. And when you're getting 150 cases and 200 cases a day, you're talking about an absolutely minuscule percentage of the population. There had to have come a time when you start to consider livelihoods versus lives, and the impact that delaying this was going to have. And I think that time has come. Yeah. I think we are going to have some serious challenges apart from the other things that we have.
I think what we hear from the Ministry of Health when we have these press conferences is that we're getting more cases of the Delta variant, and we're not able to trace those cases to somebody returning, some foreign traveler, or somebody coming into the country. So I think that is an area of concern, even if for now we still have a relatively what you'd consider minuscule number of cases per day. Isn't that a concern for the business community at all?
Yeah, I mean, the point is, there is Delta. Whatever the, I think there's still a lack of clarity with regards to what Delta is. I mean, is it? I think it's now getting a little bit clearer. Is it more deadly? Is it just more contagious? Exactly what it is. And I think you're seeing our international partners becoming a bit more
lax.
A bit more, well, no, I think they're becoming a bit more proactive when it comes to Delta with regards to understanding that it's not as okay, so it's more contagious, right? And they've begun to roll back their policies a little bit as they begin to get a little bit more of a grasp on it. I just think we have when you consider where we are now and what we need to do, I just don't think, and I think the budget would have shown that as well. I don't think we're recognizing the economic danger that we are in. And again, and this has been interpreted by people in the media, or the social media indeed, that's me putting livelihoods or money before life. And it's utter nonsense. You have to balance the two.
Yeah.
I think at this stage we've reached a position that it's almost out of pure desperation, right? That we had to make this step, and then to make this step with all these conditions that really don't exactly make any sense. And then you still have a 10 o'clock curfew, for example. How does that impact the behavior? Are you trying to get into the behavioral aspect of what human beings do? No alcohol, closing by 10 o'clock. Do humans behave poorer after 10 p.m.? Does a glass of wine with dinner, is it going to make you less compliant? And so you get this line that starts to get traversed between implementing policy and then beginning to interfere with your day-to-day behavior. And that's what one of my concerns are. But like I said, again, we've gotten to this mirage in the desert, and we are taking a drink, and we're hopeful that and not just from a profit perspective, Natalee. Our businesses, certainly in my industry, are not going to become profitable anytime soon. It's nothing to do with profit and people hungry to get profit. We have businesses that we've invested in. We have people that we've invested in. We have people who have invested their lives into our industries. And it really is about getting that caboose back on the track. Don't for a minute think that in the next 3 to 6 months is going to be any type of profit for our business. And we understand that.
Yeah.
But it's getting it going.
But you know what? As you mentioned profits and talk about, human and their behaviors, one of the things that I asked the Minister of National Security when he was here yesterday talking about the rollout of the safe zones is, how are we going to monitor to ensure that that human element doesn't take over where, for the last 18 months, businesses have lost massive amounts of money, and that doesn't interfere with their ability to adhere to the rules of having those in their places that are open completely vaccinated. Because to me, I think I can see some businesses just flouting that to say, listen, it's been 18 months, and you know, like my butt have been on the breadline for so long that I'm gonna take the chance, even though there are fines involved.
Well, I mean, the point is, I mean, how do you police that? And I don't just mean police it from the perspective of catching it after it's done. How do you police it from the perspective that you get people to comply, right? Because it's 11,000 restaurants around the country. Was the number that I was given. Obviously, some are very small, and it's virtually impossible to manage. And I think that's probably why they came with a very, very heavy fine. Right, because certainly when it comes to our business, it is very prominent, and many of the frontline restaurants, it's a hefty fine, right? It's $25,000 per incident.
Yeah.
And when you look at the language of that, the language of what was put out there, it was that type of language it was shocking to me. Prison and all these types of things. For second offences and 5 months in prison, 6 months in prison. So they made the fine and the penalties very, very punitive to make it a real disincentive to try and be creative. There are going to be people who are going to break it, right? I mean, the government probably understands that. But if you're in a position where you need to, you need to be that non-compliant for you to get by, I think you have a bigger problem.
But you know what, Peter, we have seen, I mean, we live in a country, and it's there, what we see here, it's not unique to Trinidad and Tobago, where there are hefty fines in a lot of things and people break them all the time.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, again, that's a society, right? I mean, yeah. But I think in this instance, people are probably going to think, I am not doing something, I mean, that's so contrary to the well-being. It's not, it's almost like a petty crime per se, right? So I'm sure it will happen. I'm sure there's going to be some frustration with regards to, children coming. I mean, yesterday when I got the call after, I mean, I felt a certain level of compassion. I was like, explain to them how we would have sneaked them in. We would have, just to make them feel a little bit better. But you felt it in your heart. I mean, here's these people, they got off a plane last night, they came for dinner, they came for lunch, looking around, they don't know where to go. And they couldn't come in, and they were astonished to understand why. What do you mean? And we had to explain to them what it was. So there's a level of, a lack of understanding as well. But it's hard for us to countenance. You have, governments and policymakers who really they've had no real meaningful financial impact from this. They don't have any, they don't have any involvement from the perspective of having skin in the game, having those types of investments. They've all been kept largely whole, by the very same taxpayers that they are.
But that's what I was about to say to you. I don't agree. Is that even though the government might not be running a restaurant, to me the government stands to lose the most. Because the government is the entire business of the economy, So when Peter George is closed, or when Prestige Holdings is closed, then the government has to find ways to help not only Peter George and Prestige Holdings, but even the employees within those organizations. Just for example, so to me, the biggest burden always falls back on the government when we have these shutdowns.
Well, the point is, I don't know that it falls back on the governments, because how are they going to make up for that revenue gap? They're probably going to make back up for it from taxation, which is going to hurt the very same people that have been hurt from these decisions that have been made. So I mean, listen, it was very hard, Natalee, in the beginning. Yeah. There was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns, and there were some known unknowns with regards to what was happening with from learning from our international partners. But like I said, I just think 18 months on, you can't be making the same decision and expecting it to have any impact. Throughout the last couple of months of closure, the numbers continued to rise. I mean, it was very clear. All the data was very clear that restaurants, in particular, empirically, there was no data that showed that we were a center of any type of
spread of the
type of
COVID-19
spread,
virus.
right, throughout the world.
Peter,
Yet, it just seemed to be low-lying fruit. It just seemed to be that you were taking action when you closed restaurants, because it just seemed like a place where people congregated and did all these, these nefarious things. But it was not the case.
Yeah.
The restaurants were closing, numbers continue to go up.
We are out of time, Peter. My final question to you is: do you believe this will work? The safe zones.
I think it's a decent effort. I think it's very incongruent. Like I said, it's 10 o'clock, no children, no alcohol. Even 10 o'clock, even Friday, Saturday, there was no conference. For the final date before we open, there was no conference to give some clarity. I think we're going to hack our way through this. Even the fact that the police and the health officials now, they were told that they don't have to be vaccinated. The point is how we come out of this. I don't know. Is this going to work? I really don't think. I think hopefully in a couple of weeks, this is going to be relaxed as well. Again, not because we're being irresponsible, but simply because we have to get about the business of getting back to normal.
Yeah.
If we're going to give this economy and ourselves a chance, given the other issues that we have. So is it going to work? I can only hope that it will, but I would have liked to have seen it be a little bit more, logical in some of its steps. I think it's still steeped in the medical aspect a little bit too much. COVID is not going anywhere. I think we understand that now.
So we have to learn
be
to
with
live
us in
with
a
it.
year, 2, 3, and 4 years. So the question is, when do we get back to normal?
Thank you, Peter Georgia. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
You're most welcome.